Hey folks, what's cracking? So today, I want to talk about. I'm stuck in traffic, so you know how that goes. I want to talk about phantom smells. You know what? Fuck it. We're gonna talk about whatever I want tonight, and tonight we're gonna talk about something ghostly. I don't know. I'm just gonna wing it. I'm always winging it. We're gonna talk about a story that my grandfather told, or stories that been handed down via family members. Yeah. Fucked up front, huh? Fucked up opening. Huh? We're gonna try this again. Take 2. Alright, folks. Okay. So tonight I'm gonna talk about stories that were handed down from my parents or my grandparents, depending. So the first story is related to my mom's side of the family. And we'll call this person Pit Viper, Queen Pit Viper. And Queen Pit Viper's mother, Mama Pit Viper, was a bad person. Like, really, really bad person. And she literally would go around and like terrorize people in the little place they lived. I mean, I'm evil. I know it's hard to believe, folks. I'm evil, and I can be very cold-hearted in a split second. Like, my emotions will go from 0 to 60, not because of mental illness, nothing like that. It's just dark. I can go dark real quick, and I can wish harm on everybody and their mama, if I'm provoked to that level. This lady was like this. This Pit Viper was like this every day. Nobody needed to provoke her. She was like this. So, Mama Pit Viper had Baby Pit Viper. Now, Baby Pit Viper was not the nicest person. A lot of shit is the cause of Baby Pit Viper. So, Baby Pit Viper grows up to be Queen Pit Viper. Alright? Now, when Mama Pit Viper was on her, Viper deathbed, weird things started to happen. Now, this is a true story. This comes from family members who witnessed a lot of this. She would give soup to the neighbor's dog just to see if it was poisoned, because she would go around telling people, or people would go like give her something, and she would say it's poisoned. Well, she would poison it herself and pretend that somebody gave it to her so the other person can die. I'm telling you, this Viper was really, 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 really dark and twisty. And so Pit Viper ends up dying of old age. And in dying of old age, they went to go bury the Viper. Now, everybody knows that the ground for burial is about 6 feet, give or take, depending if you're a giant. That could be like 7 feet, whatever. So they went to go bury her in the cemetery, and I don't remember, but I believe they had issues with the Viper's casket in the procession through the town. So it was one of those things where, son of a monkey's uncle. Sorry. I'm driving and I'm recording this on my phone, and this idiot decides to cut me off. Oh my God. Yes. Anyways, getting back to Pit Viper. So there were just weird things happening in the procession, because at that time, they usually had the procession. People who knew, family members, friends, neighbors would all do the procession and walk, escort people to the cemetery, right? Or to church, or to wherever they do that. As you can tell, I'm not religious. So people were escorting Pit Viper, to her holy ground, and they were encountering problems on the way. Like, weird things were happening to the casket and stuff like that. So they finally make it to the cemetery. Now, they dug the hole, Pit Viper style, 6 feet, your typical Viper style, room and everything. But they put one end down first, and then they went to go put the second end down, and the casket wouldn't fit. Now, people started to be like, what? That's crazy. So they took the casket out. So they put the side that didn't fit in first, because they thought, well, maybe it's just, the casket. So they went to go put the other side in, and it didn't fit. So they took the casket out, and they made the hole bigger. So this hole's getting longer, okay? It's getting longer. And they went in to put one end of the casket in, perfectly fine. It entered perfectly fine. They went in to put the second end in, and it wouldn't go in. And people started to drop to their knees and pray. And because the mama Pit Viper was a very, 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 very vicious viper. She didn't give a shit who she affected and who she sprayed with her venom. End result was her dominance. So they went back and they dug the hole again, and they tried it again and again. The hole just was smaller than what it was, dug. They measured it when they were digging it, this feet by this feet, perfect. They measured the casket, boom, boom, perfect. Whole casket should fit in the hole. Well, it comes time to put the casket into the ground, and one end fit and the other end didn't. So people started to speculate, and people started to drop to their knees and pray that she was such a bad person that God and the earth did not want her. God did not want her buried in the cemetery. And people were scared and stuff like that. They're like, it's a sign that she was such a bad viper that nobody, not even the earth, wanted her, and nobody could understand why. So they finally gave up, because they were going at it for a couple hours. So they gave up, and they finally burned her. But when Pit Viper was alive, she was a mean bitch. She was one of those mean bitches that, hell has no fury than a scorned woman. Yeah, that was a viper, all right. So there's this one time, this neighborhood lady, pissed. I think it was a lady, if I remember the story correctly. It was a lady. She pissed off the viper. Like, everybody was telling her, don't fuck with the viper, don't deal with the viper, you're gonna get, fucking poisoned. But, people don't listen, of course. And, well, she ended up, getting not poisoned, but very close to it. So something went down between this lady and the viper. The viper was pissed. God, man, she was goddamn pissed. Like, there was like no tomorrow. If she could kill that lady, she would have killed her, like, with her bare hands and not go to jail. She'd figure a way how to get out of jail, let's put it that way. So in the process of, their argument and their fight, Pit Viper tells the lady, you're gonna wake up one morning with a snake wrapped around your neck and you're gonna die. Right? Okay. Lady laughed it off. Ha 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 ha, you're funny. Well, a couple days go by. Lady feels something cold and clammy on her. And it was a fucking snake wrapping itself around her. I don't know if it was around, I don't remember if it's around the neck or not, but it was wrapping around her. And if you can picture this, God help you. This snake was wrapping itself around her, and she screamed, and they came and helped her. But Pit Viper found it funny. She was laughing her head off. Crazy woman. Okay, so now we go down to baby Pit Viper. Now, baby Pit Viper isn't as mean as Mama Pit Viper, but baby Pit Viper had some offspring that were just as mean as Mama Pit Viper. We're talking about baby Pit Viper's mama. Okay? The lady who died, who was burned. Now, when baby Pit Viper was getting older, the significant other to baby Pit Viper had passed away, and Mama Pit Viper, or baby Pit Viper, got sick and dropped a shitload of weight, like really quick. Like within a couple days, she just dropped this weight. So you're almost looking at an anorexic baby Pit Viper. Okay. And the only reason why I'm using baby Pit Viper and Mama Viper is that these are family members and they probably already know what I'm talking about, but still, they're family members, and I, though I hate my extended family, I gotta kind of keep it safe identity wise. But they probably know. They probably don't even listen to my podcast, bastards. Anyways, so she became very anorexic baby Pit Viper. I mean, to the point where no poison was popping out or anything like that. If you're new to the podcast community and you want to start a new podcast and you're looking for a platform that is user-friendly, that has everything you need at your fingertips, that won't set any limits, that you can earn money, then I would recommend Anchor. Now, Anchor can be used basically anywhere. You could be in your car, you can be laying on the sofa in bed, where you can edit, record, and upload. You can throw in soundtracks. You can, everything is there for you. Now, I use it because, like, it's user friendly, and it is free, and I find it really easy to navigate without it being very confusing. Now, most platforms, before you can even try it out, you need to sign up and pick a plan. I like Anchor because I don't have to go through any of that. So I recommend it. Now, if you really want to get into it, I recommend you going to your website, anchor.fm, and signing up, or you can download anchor.fm from the Google Store, iTunes, and give it a try. So don't forget to go to anchor.fm, sign up, and I'll see you all in podcast community. Now, when baby Pit Viper passed away, according to my sister, there was a bright flash of light coming across the hospital, the building across from the hospital. Still the same building complex, but the building just across from them. It was like this huge ball of light, and she passed away. Now, I believe that ball of light was something or someone coming to take her. That's my theory. My second one was that when she was on her deathbed, she stated that she could see this person. She saw a couple people in the room with her. Now, I can vouch for that because I was looking down on the ground and I counted more feet than what was present. So there were extra bodies in the hospital room. Now, was it coincidental? Don't know. Was it a sign that people were coming to pick her up? Don't know. But people say that she saw family members come and get her, and Mama Pit Viper was one of them. Don't know. That's what she was saying on her deathbed. So, second story. Story number 2. Now, these stories were told to us by my living grandmother and by my father. So, my grandfather on my dad's side of the family, who I adored, we used to call him Papa Nico or Tata Nico. His name was Nicholas. So he had a brother who at one point in time had sold his soul to the devil. Now, people always say, hey, you never want to sell your soul to the devil because the end result is graphic. Well, yeah, it is graphic. So there was an instance where both my grandfather and my grandfather's brother would play tricks on other, coworkers, because they used to work the fields, the cotton fields. So whatever grain was growing at the time, they would harvest it. So, with that being said, my grandfather and his brother would always play these tricks on these guys. So one day, my grandfather's brother took a cake, and I don't know how to put this because it's going to sound really, really disgusting. Well, it is disgusting, but anyways, took this cake and said, hey, my wife made this cake. I want to share it with you guys. So the guys are all like, oh, cool, and they're all like, you want some? And he's all like, no, I already ate, I'm good, and he turned around and he goes, y'all are eating shit. And when the guys looked down, they were eating cow dung, cow shit. These beautiful cow pies. Cow shit pies is what they would call it. And they're all like, no, man, don't mess with the Alvarezes because, they have the deal with the devil and they made a pact with the devil and this and that. My grandfather used to take the bandanas, the handkerchiefs, make them into little dolls. Don't ask how he did it, but he would do it because even the bar guys from the bars would always tell him, hey, Nicholas. And they would give him a doll, and they were like, hey, make a doll and make him dance. And my grandfather would take the doll, take the handkerchief, drunk as a skunk, and he'd be like, okay. And then he'd make his little doll, and he would put it on the table, and he would point at it and say, dance. And that doll would get up and start dancing. And people would be like, wow, like, oh my God. And then, people were always like, dude, he has a deal with the devil. Don't do this, don't do that. Sometimes my grandfather's brother would climb pine trees because there was a lot of pine trees where they lived, and he would start his lumbrada, basically, to warm up his food and everything. He would start a mini fire at the top of the pine tree. Now, if anybody knows anything about pine trees, you know for a fact that pine trees, the higher you go, the less stable it is. So people would be wondering, like, how the hell does he do that? And he wouldn't fall, he wouldn't do anything. He would be up there eating his food, eating his lunch, and then he would climb down like nobody's business. But what's trippy is that everybody in town knew what they were, and my grandfather repented and he became a good man and stopped drinking and stuff like that. But every so often he'd do something or something would happen, and he would have this weird reaction to it. Like, I remember hearing the story where a snake, a rattler, crawled in or slithered into my grandmother's house, and it was either crawling up toward a crib or it was crawling up of the bed or something like that. And my grandfather called it out, like, hey, get out. And the snake stopped, kind of looked at him, and turned around and slithered out. Now, we all know snakes don't vocalize, don't do anything like that. But my grandfather had a way with snakes. Now, it could be because, he had that deal with the devil. and stuff like that. But I remember this one story where this, I don't know if it was my grandfather's brother, who was on his deathbed, and a priest showed up, and he was getting to the point where, hey, come and do his last rites and stuff like this. So he was getting his last rites and everything, and then all of a sudden, he started to scream out in pain, and he kept telling the priest, "You're the devil, you're the devil. The priest is here already. He's been giving me my rights and stuff like this." And, people were trying to convince him, hey, no, this is the priest. This is the priest. And he didn't believe it. He didn't want to hear it. And they said that from under the door, you can see all this fog and smoke and these weird noises coming out of the room. And to be honest, I believe every single thing about it, because if you didn't see it, then you can't believe it. And for my grandmother and my dad to tell me these stories, like the hooved lady at the club, the gargoyles that sit on the top of the houses, the gnomes that come into the house and attack people. My aunt literally was attacked by a gnome in her house. They call them duendes, and they're usually not good people. They're not good things. They're usually bad. So a lot of this stuff happens, and these are stories that I hear, and people, my dad tells me the stories, and my grandmother would tell us the stories. So I know for a fact that these are true because they've seen it and they've experienced it. So for a lot of people, well, that's bullshit that he climbed up a tree and did this and that. Hey, it may be bullshit to you, but there are witnesses to that. That bullshit that, he can make a handkerchief into a doll and make it dance. Hey, that's bullshit to you. That's your opinion. But there are witnesses to it that's seen it happen with their eyes. So I wouldn't, is it paranormal? Is it, what is it? Having a deal with the unknown or making a deal with the demon has its own risks, and the more you lay out on the line for whatever you want, the worse it's going to go for you when it comes time to collect. And trust me, it's not a pretty thing when he's coming knocking and, hey, I'm here to collect. I don't know. But those are just some of the stories that my grandmother would tell us and my dad would tell us and shit like that. So, yeah. I don't know. Weird. But if you have any comments, questions, concerns, by all means, feel free to throw them over to my social media, mshydesparanormalworld at gmail.com. All the information will be linked below. I will have another story tomorrow. I'm going to do the Deep South, stories from the South. And then next week, I'm starting the research for another topic that I'm covering, and it's going to be called The Beast of Bray Road. So I've been hearing a few podcasts regarding the Beast of Bray Road, so I was just trying to get some information, because there's really no hardcore research on it. There's a book, but a lot of it's evidence based, so that's going to be coming up too. And then we're going to dive into more of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Yeti. And so I have stories lined up. I have an interview with the doctor from Real Conversations with Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde. So I'm going to be talking to him about the paranormal. So I have things coming up. It's just taken me quite a bit of time because of my work and because, I'm taking classes. So, things will be back on track. So with that being said, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can donate to the podcast. I want to thank my investor for believing in my podcast and believing in my style. I'd like to thank to the subscribers and to those who have donated to the podcast. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to get a lot of the equipment that I just recently purchased. So I want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my black little cold heart. So you all have a good day, and I will see you all soon. And don't forget to keep it ghostin'. Ghosty out.